And the music fades, and welcome to this episode of season six of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and sometimes guests talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late John Popham, and that music always reminds me of him, so I hope nobody else ever uses it. Good morning, Sweyn. How has the weather been this week where you are?
Hello. We've had cold weather, but very bright and sunny, and it's a bit warmer today, so I'm happy.
hmm And you've been out in it already, so
I
well done
have,
to
yes, I
you.
had a
Yeah.
doctor's appointment to be checked up as annually, and it's
hmm
been a lovely day.
Yeah, so you're still in working order. That's great.
Yes,
Um,
it is. How about you in
Yeah, in the west of
sunny
Ireland,
Ireland?
I can see blue bits of blue sky over there. Lots of cloud, but lovely and bright. The light here is just fantastic. I've no
Indeed.
other light on here. It's all natural light, so that's really
Mm.
nice to enjoy that. So you have some dates for us, Swain.
Yes. Now then, I'm in a pickle here because I've started to do something and I don't know oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes, I do have some dates, and I will be
hmm
finding them any moment now.
Excellent.
Um,
You're looking for Bowel Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, I'm looking for that, aren't I? Here we go. I'm looking for Bowel Cancer Awareness Month, which is this month,
Mm.
and it runs all month. I really am making a mess of this. Here we go. No, that one. No, that one. Yes, that one. There we go. Bowel Cancer Awareness Month 2026. It's held every April. And it's a crucial health campaign dedicated to raising awareness about bowel cancer, which is also known as colorectal cancer. And the month-long initiative aims to increase public understanding of the disease, highlight the importance of early detection, and encourage people to know the symptoms and seek medical advice promptly. Bowel cancer affects about 1 in 25 people over their lifetimes, and so it's very common. So awareness of efforts during April can help save lives by promoting screening, prevention, and support for those affected. The risk increases with age. So here we are. I've got my over 60s bus pass now, but the risk actually increases from about 50.
Mm.
And certainly all parts of the UK have some kind of screening process of the whole population. So the main message is do your screening test when it comes through the post, and
Mm.
also familiarize yourself with the common symptoms, which include persistent changes in bowel habits, blood in the stool, unexplained weight loss, abdominal pain, and fatigue, because early recognition and diagnosis really does increase survival rates. Blue is the color of the month. I happen to be wearing a blue shirt, so I'm feeling quite smug. So that is Bowel Cancer Awareness Month.
Excellent, excellent. Good to hear all that. And we're not afraid to talk about bowels on this program. It's everyone has them, so yes,
Indeed,
check
indeed.
yours.
There's a joke in Scotland to do with no, I'll not tell that joke. Uh,
Another audience,
there
maybe.
is a joke in Scotland.
Yeah.
There's lots of jokes in Scotland. Anyway,
Yeah.
on to Active April 2026, and indeed one of the preventive measures for against bowel cancer is keeping active. So this is kind of linked to the first
Good.
one.
hmm
Active for April, and I've just picked an example of one of the resources that are available online for this. I mean, we're halfway through the month, but I'm sure it doesn't matter when we've started doing this sort of thing.
hmm
Um, it's encouraging individuals of all ages to incorporate more physical activity into their daily routine. And as the weather warms and daylight hours increase, and if, like me, you've just been for your annual health check and they say you're slightly overweight again, uh, then it's the perfect time to shake off the winter sluggishness and embrace a more active, healthier lifestyle. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting your fitness journey, Active for April offers motivation, community support, and simple ways to make physical activity a joyful part of everyday life. And there's lots and lots of examples of how you can do this, including setting personal activity goals along the lines of 10,000 steps a day, or setting yourself a cycling challenge, or trying a new fitness class, write it down, share it with others, and track your progress through April. Uh, Join a local challenge. There's lots of them around the place. Maybe corporate, start or take part in workplace wellness initiatives, family and school activities, all sorts of things, which are all available as suggestions on the website that has the link in the show notes. And
Brilliant.
that's it.
Great to see. Yeah, those 10,000 steps always seem very intimidating to me, but it doesn't have to be. 10,000 steps is what, 5 kilometers or something?
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah, so it's all
Well,
all doable.
no, it's more like 8 or 9 kilometers.
Oh, it is. Okay, well,
5 miles, I think, is probably.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, doable. I used to work up to. I can't say I do it every day, but I try. Okay, we'll move on to the events that we've picked up, and the first one is in Scotland, and it's on Wednesday, the 22nd of April, from 10 to half 12, and this is an event called Digital Kindness in Action, Digital Support and Networking for Charities. And the blurb says, are you involved with the charity as a volunteer, employee, or trustee? Join others from local charities to connect and receive digital advice. They're inviting you to join us for an inspiring morning dedicated to empowering local charities and community groups with the digital tools they need to thrive. And this is a program supported by the National Lottery Community Fund, so it's free to attendees. So it'll see the official launch of the Digital Kindness in Action campaign. Learn how your organisation can access 6 months of hands-on digital support. There's a mini workshop on social media as a campfire. Instead of just a megaphone, think of digital platforms as a place to gather. We'll explore how a strategic presence can transform your outreach and help in building a bigger community, attracting and thanking sponsors, boosting volunteer recruitment, and real-time impact. There'll be structured networking and expert advice with dedicated time for meaningful networking with fellow charity leaders and volunteers, and a Q&A session where the digital expert will be available for one-on-one advice regarding your organization's online presence. And that may feel a bit, kind of old hat, but actually lots of charities are still just getting started with digital and can do with all the support they can get. So well done to the organization that's organizing this digital kindness. I think they use that as like a trademark. So they're supported, as I say, by the National Lottery Community Fund. And we know of other organisations, at least one in Scotland that helps digital, the Scottish Council of Voluntary Organisations, but I'm sure all help is very welcome. So look forward to people here talking to us about how they benefited from that. The second event I've picked up is actually dedicated to PhD students, but they do say that if you're not a PhD student, you can apply and maybe they'll let you come to it. And it's called Lunch in the Lab, Digital Sovereignty. Can't pronounce that word because yeah. Anyway, so the blurb says, how can communities and individuals be empowered to have control over their own data and decide for themselves how data is used? This is a workshop which will begin with an open platform for sharing research and ideas on the topic of data sovereignty before continuing with conversations on practical strategies to gain and maintain control over individual and community data through the lens of law and cultural studies. The blurb says, we welcome and encourage colleagues from across schools and disciplines in the University of Sussex to get involved in these timely discussions from their own unique perspective as researchers, and lunch will be provided, so I'm sure that'll encourage people to attend. And they're saying, if you'd like to give a short presentation about your research as it relates to digital sovereignty, please get in touch with us, and they give an email address. So it's open to postgraduate researchers and staff across Sussex. And then this is a bit, as I said earlier, they said if you'd like to attend but are not a postgraduate researcher or staff, please contact them so they might be able to fit you in. So it says the workshop is ideal for everyone who wants to learn more about digital justice, engage in meaningful discussion on data sovereignty, and meet other like-minded individuals concerned or even quietly optimistic about the state of our digital futures. And I thought that was important to include, partly because if you're not a PhD student, might still be able to attend, but also to see that universities are talking about this and encouraging their students to talk to each other about it, because they can learn so much from each other. So that is looks like an interesting one, and one I'd like to encourage people to sign up to. And if anyone does go to it and wants to come and talk on the show about what they learned, we'd love to hear from you. The next event is on Wednesday, the 29th of April, and it's in Durham from 1 to 1:30 p.m. And this is an event called The Future of Community, Connecting People in a Digital World. And this is a kind of a more kind of community-based event, and it's run. I think it's a church, St. Oswald's, I think, in Durham.
Hmm.
So the question they're asking are we more connected than ever or further apart? The Croft at Crook hosts an open session at St. Oswald's Church, yeah, Institute Hall, a seat of learning and philosophy steeped in history for a community-based engagement on our county's shared social and digital future. It's billed as an inspiring, forward-thinking exploration of what it means to belong in 2026. As our lives shift increasingly online, the way we build neighborhoods, support one another, and create lasting impact is changing. So it says clearly in the blurb, this isn't a tech talk. It's a chance to slow civic speed and discuss social and digital connection, which is a good combination of things. Saying, answering the question, why should you attend? In an era of digital noise, finding genuine community can feel like a challenge. This event brings together local leaders, digital innovators, and community members to consider how together we can use the tools of the future to strengthen the roots of the present. And they say about under what to expect. Visionary discussions be part of the discussion on how phygital, combining the words physical and digital spaces,
So Digital,
Phygital, yes, better
digital.
pronunciation, can actually enhance strategic community-led action, networking with purpose, offering connection with like-minded change makers, local residents, and the team behind the Crooked Croft CIC and the Foundation for Change. Learn about the Crofted Crook CIC's mission to create a sustainable, tech-empowered, and deeply human future for our local area. So they're encouraging you to attend, whether you're a community organizer, a tech enthusiast, or simply someone who cares about the future of the county, Durham County, community culture and connectivity. Your real voice matters too, and we want to hear from you. So a very positive, welcoming event that might be of interest to people in and around
Sounds.
Durham.
I love that. That's a new word to me. Digital. I'll
Digital, yeah,
use that from now on.
we'll use that again. Yeah. And the final event of the events we have today is actually in May, but I just thought it was worth flagging because people might want to attend because there are saying that the capacity is smaller than in previous years. And this is the Lottie London Organisation of Technology and Innovation Digital Inclusion Symposium, their annual symposium. This is their fifth year of doing it, bringing together London's digital inclusion community, boroughs, voluntary and community sector organisations, academics and partners from the private sector for a day of honest conversation, shared learning, and collective thinking. The blurb says this year's event is smaller and more focused. We'll be exploring a range of topics, including the intersection of digital exclusion, health, and AI, what it looks and feels like for the Londoners we serve, and what those of us who design and fund services can do about it. It promises to that you should expect an interactive day designed around the expertise already in the room. Parts of the day will follow an unconference format, meaning the agenda is shaped by the people who show up and the ideas they bring. You'll have space to share what matters to you most, hear perspectives that challenge your assumptions, and hopefully leave with something you can act on. So this event is open to anyone working to reduce digital exclusion across London, whether you commission services, design them, deliver them, or research them. So sounds like a useful thing for people who listen to our program to get involved in. But yeah, the purpose of telling you now in a month ahead is because they're saying kind of spaces are limited, so do sign up if you're interested in going to that. Okay, no guests today. We do welcome request to be guests on the Dr. Tech Show, and Sweyn will be aware of my kind of publicizing on us on LinkedIn and kind of tagging him and the show on various posts I think will be of interest to readers. So please do look for Dr. Tech Show as a hashtag on LinkedIn, and you can see who else we're been in touch with and trying to include. Okay, so we are moving on to our stories, and the first one is something I heard on the radio in Ireland just this morning. A news item. Oh no, it's not actually. It's not. That's the second one. Sorry, Swain. I'm
No, I think that's the first one.
No, the first one is public consultation launched for Ireland's new digital wallet,
Oh, right, okay.
which is on an RT story.
Oh,
Um,
yes, I've got confused. Yes,
that,
let me just
that's
bring that
okay.
one up.
So this is people are being asked to take part in the testing of Ireland's proposed digital wallet app. This is the digital wallet aims to allow people to securely access documents such as birth certificates or driving licenses and register for key welfare support such as a working family payment. It's also been suggested as an age verification tool by Taoiseach Simon Harris. The government is legally obliged under EU regulations to ensure there is a digital wallet for accessing public services by the end of the year and for private services by the end of 2027. The public testing phase of the wallet. No, I think you're still a different story there, Sway.
Yes,
When
that's
you're
it.
onto the second one. Anyway, the public testing phase of the wallet is to begin this month, that's April, and is seen as critical to ensure it's designed to satisfy user needs and expectations, according to the Department of Finance. The first stage, for which people can opt in, gives people the chance to view the design of the wallet, understand its proposed features, provide feedback, and sign up for further testing. And the second stage allows people aged 16 or older to download the wallet and test limited functions. And you can register to be part of the testing phase at gov.ie digital wallet. And I have registered now, so I'm looking forward to receiving more information about that. Similar to what's happening in the UK about digital ID. Um, I think. Yeah, is there something similar in Scotland, Swain?
I think there is, yes.
Mm,
Um, we, yeah, we've had the so-called entitlement card for many years, which is a similar idea. I don't know if it's complete. It doesn't include NHS services on
mm.
it yet, but I think it will do soon. Yeah, but
Okay.
it's a big topic in England at the moment, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that the Taoiseach is suggesting it could be an age verification tool. I
Yeah.
know that's been a topic in England as
Good
well.
luck with that.
Yeah. And so the next item kind of links. It's again from RTE, Radio Telefisherian, called "Tickets, Bills, and the Weekly Shop: How Our Digital Society Has Excluded older people from Everyday Life." And this was something a story I heard on the radio this morning. And it's Sean Moynihan, CEO of Alone, which is a charity in Ireland that provide services for people who are living on their own. Professor Roseanne Kenny, geriatrician and founding director of the Falls and Syncope Unit at St James Hospital, and Mary McCarthy, columnist with the Irish Independent. So, if we can play the clip, Swain, is that okay?
Sure.
From booking train seats to buying match tickets, more and more of daily life now happens online, and many older people say they're struggling to keep up. So how does digital change risk excluding older adults, and what practical steps could make a real difference? To discuss this, I'm joined by geriatrician Professor Rose Kenny, by Mary McCarthy, columnist with the Irish Independent, and here in studio by Sean Moynihan, CEO of Alone. Rose, good morning to you. Are older
Good.
people being digitally excluded?
Thank you. It's Roseanne, and I'm going to cite some data from the Irish Longitudinal Study of Ageing that I'm the PI for, where we've actually addressed digital literacy. And the bottom line is, and again, indeed, Sean will be very well familiar with this, that a third of people over 50, do not have internet access in their homes in Ireland. But there's a very sharp age gradient associated with that. So it's 62% of people over 80 don't have any internet access in the home.
Wow.
Compared to 14% of people 50 to 69 and 30% aged 69 to 79. So the bottom line is that we're hugely disenfranchising a large portion of our population. But the knock-on effect of that is, as you've rightly highlighted, limited access to services, security risks, and of course, and I'm sure Sean will address this, social isolation and the impact of feeling isolated, but also the impact on lack of confidence that underpins.
Right, and I mean, are older people using social media much?
Very little. We've actually looked at that, very little. Again, over 50, only 40% use social media, but that drops right down to the double, like 10 to 15% in those over 80s. Very
Okay.
unusual.
Okay, well, perhaps they might be better off staying off social media anyway. I wish I could. Sean, I mean, is this something Roseanne has advertised? I mean, those statistics are pretty stark, aren't they?
Yeah, I think this is an issue of social exclusion, I suppose. What I'd say to Roseanne as well described how older people have lower usage, but on the far side, as we digitise, there's huge opportunity for older people, and I think older people are aware of that opportunity. And like all progress, there are both pros and cons of it, and ultimately is you try and embrace the positives, and now we need to manage some of the cons. I think the big thing we're looking at, we always pick on the GAA for the tickets and all this, but I think the reality is there's a public service plan, which means by 2030, the aim is that 90% of all public services will be online. Now, the point is, how do we manage the exceptions? How do we manage those people who are socially excluded? How do we manage the older age group? But there are younger people as well, and younger families and that may not have access to internet, PCs and all that. And will that mean they'll all be more isolated, socially excluded, or unable to get government services?
Yeah. Now, as you say, people often mention the example of the GAA, but it's not just the GAA. It's any concert you go to, any gig you want to go to, any theatre event you want to go to. Quite difficult to buy a paper ticket. You have to go on and Ticketmaster or whatever and have Ticketmaster on your phone in order to get in.
Yeah, and I think the workarounds here are relatively simple. Do you know what I mean? In some ways, is and I suppose the best, I suppose the government can always lead by example. You know what I mean? If they're going forward the digital service plan, and really what we need to do is maintain some in-person supports. What we need to do is have phone lines for people. The big data around those older people who do use online is that they usually need help if they get into trouble getting access stuff, or they may not have the skills or the confidence ultimately to fully engage. So I think, we just need a
So seamlessly we come back to our chat. I was trying to fade it out, but that was a bit of a failure. They're very interesting. I mean, it's a very good summary of where things are at in Ireland, and I don't know. I get the impression maybe the percentage is maybe slightly higher than in the UK as in terms of digital exclusion. Those
I
figures at the beginning
yeah.
sounded quite high to me, but I mean, it is what it is. So it's good to see it being considered and being talked about in the mainstream kind of.
Yeah, I'm interested. I was interested to see who they chose to come on and talk about it. Jerry Tushon, a columnist, and somebody from a charity that looks after people who are living on their own. But I'm aware, and I think I put a link in the next story to an organization called On Cusson that actually is about community education and does run digital sessions. And I think maybe there needs to be more awareness of what else is out there.
Mhm.
And like just the point about very, very unusual for over 80s to be on social media. I think like in the UK, there's a lot of lurkers. My own mum, who
Yeah.
I often have talked about in the past, will quite happily. I got her a new phone recently, a new refurbished phone, I'm glad to say.
Oh, good
Um,
stuff.
um, but she's happy to kind of just scroll through Facebook and just
Hmm.
see what's coming up. I do try to make sure that just fewer ads and more,
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
interesting stories. But you're fighting
Kind of hard
a
to.
tide there, yeah.
Yeah.
But she does like looking at it, so I think there may be more lurkers than people who are actively participating. But that's okay, I think. But yeah, so
I think there are physical challenges as we get older as well with actually participating. I mean, the old thing that they say about people's skin drying out as you get
yeah.
older. I've actually
Mm,
noticed that when I
mm,
use a self-service touch screen now, I quite
mm,
often have to make a deliberate press rather than just a
yeah,
tap
yeah.
because obviously my skin is drier than it used to be
Mm.
to go along with my bus pass. Um, I keep going on about that, of course. But there's all sorts of physical challenges, and I don't know. I guess the move away from kind of keyboard devices to phones,
Mm,
in one way, I think it has included more people, but in other ways, I think it's put barriers in which weren't there before physically
mm,
to actually effectively contribute or participate actively. I think it's quite an interesting trade-off. I mean, my children laugh at me because I have some jobs which I seem to imagine are jobs that can only be done on the computer and not on my phone. I hate this tiny screen when
mm.
you don't necessarily see everything that's important
Yeah,
to what you're trying to put in.
yeah.
As soon as you fire up your laptop, everything's clearer in my eyes. And I think there is an element of that. And I think that is a thing that the Digital Poverty Alliance has kind of usefully highlighted over the last couple of years, is that for some things, a keyboard device is much, much, much better than
Mm-hmm.
than a phone, even
Mm-hmm.
though a phone will give you, you know, easier, more, you know, easier access to take stuff in. So I
But I
think that's
think,
quite an
yeah,
interesting
but
one.
I think people are still, and I was unaware of this until like in the last few years, that the what you see on a phone is not the same as what you see on a website,
No, not
that pe
absolutely.
people think
Can
this is
be very
exactly the
different.
same, and
It
it's
can be very
not.
different. No.
And yeah, that's really important to remind people of. The other thing I think that was said in this program, I don't think we heard this bit, was that people should have the right not to use digital. And
Yes.
like in the UK,
I
the
think they were just getting up to that, weren't they? They
yeah,
were
the
talking
UK
about
Consumer
support
Act.
for, yeah.
I'm not sure what the legislation is in Ireland. I don't know that yet, but yeah, and you and I would both agree completely that you can't force people online. You shouldn't.
No.
People should have the choice, and I want the choice. I still want to do face-to-face banking from time to time, and health appointments. I definitely want to do face-to-face. I'm not keen to do
Mm.
video
Mm.
consultations. So we'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll come on to our next thing that I picked up now, which is just a reminder of what else is going on digital inclusion in Ireland. And as I say, this is on
Oh,
CUSON, which is a community education organization, and they just have a page on the website on digital inclusion, and they're inviting community organizations across Ireland to get in touch with them to learn about the resources and tools to help in their work supporting adults in developing their digital skills. They have a growing network of 50 plus digital champions across Ireland, which of course is a small number, but then Ireland is a much smaller country than the UK, where we've the majority of our stories come from. And they have a uh, program similar again to what happens in the UK, called Get Yourself Online, aimed at equipping community organizations. No, I think we're looking at your LinkedIn page
yes.
there, Swain.
Once again, I've missed this one in the list. That's why.
So Get Yourself Online is aimed at equipping community organizations and community educators to deliver digital skills training to adults to build their confidence and capacity in the use of digital skills. And they hope that enabling adult learners currently lacking basic digital skills to get online confidently and safely will help Ireland reach the European Union target of 80% of adults with digital skills by 2030. And they just a other bit I picked up, through their network of 226 partners. They hope the Get Yourself Online campaign will reach thousands of adult learners across the country, with events taking place to raise awareness and help adults get online confidently and safely. So get in touch with them, cuss on, if you're a community organisation in Ireland and you want to get involved in what's going on. I did note when I looked at the list of organisations that are included, I don't think many libraries are included in that yet. So libraries in Ireland definitely contribute to digital inclusion, and it'd
Of
be great to
course.
see them listed on the list of organisations. Okie dokie. Now we have another video, and this is or another piece of AV, and this is the Lambeth Digital Inclusion Fund, and this was highlighted on LinkedIn by our friends at Casper's Connected Communities on. Oh, anyway, Casper's organization.
Dr. Kennedale, yes.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's just a short video about the Lambeth Digital Inclusion Fund, which has helped thousands of people get online for the first time, supporting amazing local organisations to change lives, tackle poverty and social isolation through access to devices, training and low-cost internet. And the grant also enabled the UK's first assistive tech centre to be opened at Southwick Hall to support people with specific needs. And frontline teams now have special guides to help connect people they serve with free data and devices. And the blurb also goes on to say we've sped up internet rollout too. 92% of homes on council estates in Lambeth can now access full fibre broadband, and 57 community centres have had Wi-Fi fitted, helping local groups make the most of these vital spaces, from homework clubs to activities for older residents. So, are you able to roll the video there, Sweyn?
Yes.
Great.
Lambeth Council launched the Digital Inclusion Fund to help residents with limited digital access. Grants were awarded to 15 grassroots projects across Lambeth, which enabled local organisations to support 3,000 residents. For example, Millennium Community Solutions launched London's first assistive technology centre, here in the heart of Brixton, for those living with disabilities. These initiatives have improved access to public services, increased life opportunities, as well as supporting individuals with specific needs.
Lambeth Digital Inclusion Fund was really beneficial for our organisation. So a lot of our work centres on the repair and reuse of technology. So we collect laptops, tablets, smartphones from local businesses and the general public, and we repair and refresh them and pass them back out onto individuals who need our help. Being able to access tech, being able to get online means that people can access vital services, and it also helps strengthen community organisations across the borough. So other small charities and community groups that are trying to support individuals and residents with things like mental health provision, food access, good quality housing and employment, and in enabling them to access the digital world, all of those things become far more accessible.
I feel that digital exclusion has no set demographic, but it often considerably affects people from low-income households, and that bleeds into many other facets of life, so healthcare, housing, education, employment, for instance. And this fund has really helped us to support residents who are faced with these challenges.
It's crucial for programmes like the Digital Inclusion Fund to continue. Having the support from the council, providing the facilities that they can have to boost the services that the voluntary sector have, for me feels to be like a perfect kind of combination to enable the residents of Lambeth to achieve outcomes for themselves, and that's ultimately what we collectively want to do. We've got to move away from providing direct support and provide spaces and opportunities for people to be able to build themselves and create their own outcomes.
Excellent. Yes, we saw our
Really
friend Casper on there, and also Kat Smith from Community Tech Aid. We have had Stephanie Sharbeen from Community Tech Aid on the programme previously. So great to see that happening, and hopefully that's echoed in other parts of the country with the National Digital Inclusion Fund. But yeah. And it's interesting to see the cabinet member was digital data and resident involvement, Sweyn. I thought that was a
Oh yes, I missed that
yeah.
as we went through. The cabinet member in the London Assembly.
Yeah, in
Mayor of London.
Lambeth.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, the Lambeth Council. Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
That makes a
yeah.
lot of sense.
Mm,
And again,
yeah.
that goes back to John Popham's approach, very early realization that housing providers were key to reaching some digitally excluded people.
Absolutely. I mean, 92% of homes being able to access full fibre broadband, and
Amazing.
57 community centres having Wi-Fi. You know, that'll transform some people's lives. So it's great to see that happening. So well done, Lambeth. Okie doke. Moving on. Unfortunately, kind of more to the kind of the less good end of the kind of the still challenging end of the digital inclusion picture. This is a story by Emma Weston, our friend from Digital Unite, on the Connection Project, which we mentioned in the last episode of the programme. And the title of this piece is "Let's Stop Illustrating the Problem: Digital Inclusion 30 Years On" by Emma Weston. And
30 years, eh?
30 years, I know, I can't believe it, since she was cycling around on her bike helping people
Yes.
one-to-one, and now she's kind of much bigger organization helping many more people. Um, so Emma unfortunately is saying, how could it be that 30 years later, since Digital Unite was founded, digital inclusion is not just still a huge issue, but I would argue it has actually got worse. She says it's worse because it's more complex, and that means it will take more deliberate, creative, and sustained efforts to fix. So she suggests three reasons for the complexity. Firstly, the digital is ubiquitous, showing up in every aspect of life, work, and play. So if you're digitally excluded, you're not just disadvantaged when it comes to communication and finding things out you're locked out of, and or paying more for shopping, banking, benefits, health, and social care. And so that's one aspect of it. The second reason is that it's inexorably linked to big systemic inequalities of money and poverty, education and literacy, marginalization and difference. So you're more likely to be digitally excluded if you're financially disadvantaged, have low literacy, have physical, sensory, cognitive, or other learning or health challenges. And the third thing, and finally, she says, although digital inclusion is a national imperative, it's also someone else's responsibility, and it's mostly considered to be happening out there and will get fixed out there through projects and interventions with short-term objectives fueled by short-term investment. But she pointed out, and yet a recent LGA survey found that 44% of councils don't have a digital inclusion lead officer, and only 13% have a digital inclusion strategy. So not great to hear that. Shout out, by the way, for Birmingham, who's recently soft launched their new digital inclusion strategy. So we look forward to hearing more about that in due course. But obviously, as usual, Emma is positive and offering solutions. So she says, how then to get on and do something about it? First of all, she says, treat it as a systemic structural issue that is folded into the way we run organizations and businesses, and how we design and deliver products and services across public and private sector. Not as a series of stop-start projects, but as a continuum. Every workplace can be a digitally inclusive workplace, staffed by people who are trained and given time to see that the work they do has a digital inclusion component to it, lean into that and mitigate the risks of exclusion. Number two, every interaction with a citizen as consumer or service user has the potential to further digital inclusion element. Through this lens, digital inclusion is customer service, underpinned by behavior change in suppliers, whether public or private. Make Every Contact Count, MECC, which is a methodology developed by Public Health England in 2008 to support healthy lifestyle behaviour change, can be equally well applied to digital inclusion and exclusion. And thirdly, she says, treat digital inclusion as a necessary business investment, not as a funding requirement. If we want digital customers and service users, we need to invest in them feeling skilled and confident to be so. Whether you're a council, a bank, or a supermarket, whether you're a broadcaster or a utility provider or the government, you have a vested interest in this. 77% of councils, she said a lack of money and staff were the biggest impediments to driving digital inclusion. Only a systemic shift in its prioritisation, urgency, and other ways to relieve those pressures will change that. So, congratulations to Digital Unite on being established for 30 years. Obviously, like most charities, the end game is to try and work yourself out of a job, but unfortunately, for the vast majority of the public, that's not going to end anytime soon. But it's worth listening to Emma and
Yeah.
hearing what she has to say about digital inclusion. She really knows what
This
she's talking about.
this is why I get so frustrated when people are still talking about the importance of innovation in digital inclusion. I guess there's always an element of innovation required in any sort of program that moves forward.
Mm,
But actually, the focus shouldn't be on innovation now. It should be on embedding stuff that we can prove and point to that has worked, whether it's in our own country or somewhere else.
mm,
It's a question of politics, a question of resources, and a question of a political will to make progress. It's not now really a question of innovation as such, other than that innovation is always necessary in life and
mm,
will kind of occur anyway. Um, the the argument that we've spent an awful lot of public money on this, but we now need to get more money, more effect for the money that we spent. Well, the real problem is that probably only 10 or 5% of the amount of resources that's required to properly fix this problem has ever been applied anywhere. And as we've heard in this story and in others today and earlier, it comes along in these dribs and drabs of tiny little specific projects that need to be set up. Governance has to be put in place for them. Funding, application processes have to be put in place, and so on and so on and so on. And that's just a complete waste of time and money. What's needed is, as Emma says here, is a complete refocus on digital inclusion and embedding it in service delivery. And I love the idea of embedding it in customer service. Make every make
Contact
every
count.
contact count. I hadn't heard that acronym before, but yeah, I mean, today when I went for my GP annual checkup, they were checking my blood pressure and my and various other things so that they have to check every year. But they were also reminding me, keep up your alcohol-free days, stop eating too many snacks, and bring your weight down a bit. They're just taking the opportunity because I'm there to make the most of the time they have to help me become healthier. And that's a brilliant example of something that I was since I've been an AbilityNet volunteer, I've actually found myself going into that mode even when I'm just in other types of contact with people who have digital problems. I'll find myself just kind of asking them about what the problem is and seeing if there's something easy they can do to sort it out. Now, that won't show up in AbilityNet's statistics or anything like that. It's not necessarily always to older people or people with disabilities, which are the target audience. But if people who are confident in digital stuff, which doesn't mean knowing everything by any means, but if people are just confident about how to explore it with other people, there's all sorts of contexts. And like we said before, John Popham focused for a number of years on housing, the housing service, and how digital could be folded into that. There's all sorts of opportunities for that, and it doesn't need new projects or clever thinking to get that underway and make progress. And it's really frustrating that yet again and again, governments, Scottish, UK, no doubt Welsh, no doubt Northern Ireland Assembly, have this notion that you need to specialize it all and make it something really incredibly clever and exciting. And that's just not what's required, in my opinion. Anyway,
Just
rant over, as they say.
par for the course. But yeah, so thanks, Emma, and good luck. And yeah, we look forward to having you on the show again at some stage. Sorry, I'm going.
Oh,
Excuse me.
bless you. There is pollen in the air.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I'm off to Italy tomorrow, so hopefully
Of course.
won't come with me. I forgot to mention that I'm going to the International Journalism Festival
Yes.
tomorrow. And I'm actually recognized media. I've got media
I know.
accreditation, so I'm looking
Dr.
forward
Tech
to
Show is a thing.
internationally. Yes, absolutely. Go, go, go. Anyway,
Oh,
back
dear.
to today's
I'm sure
program.
John would approve, that's for sure.
I'm sure he'd be delighted. Yeah. So the next story is again from LinkedIn, from a story by Antonio Vieira Santos, on AI, disability policy, and the future of digital inclusion. And this is a conversation with Microsoft's Rylan Rogers. And it links with a AXS chat, which is another kind of podcast that happens around disability and access. And the quote at the top of the story is: the disability community isn't in the rooms where the big tech accessibility conversations are happening. That gap needs to close. And Sweyn referred to AbilityNet earlier, and that's one of the things in the UK that's certainly addressing the gap. So this, and Antonio says that as a co-host of AXS Chat, he had the privilege of interviewing Rylan Rogers alongside Neil Milliken and Deborah Rowe. Her perspective on the future accessibility, AI, and representation in tech left a lasting impression on Antonio. So a few insights from the conversation that he explores further in his latest LinkedIn article are that 90% of websites are still inaccessible. I think that ends, Rylan says. Rylan's bold prediction, empowered by AI's potential to transform digital inclusion at scale. Secondly, disabled people as innovators. We are at our core hackers, solving problems because the world isn't always designed for us, and I can certainly agree with that one. Thirdly, AI is a lever, not just a workaround. The quote is, AI will both prevent new accessibility failures at design time and provide immediate workarounds for the vast backlog of inaccessible content. Fourthly, Microsoft's approach. Every employee is required to take accessibility training, not optional, not recommended. Every employee. Now, that's a great thing to have. And I know that, back to the previous story, Emma would certainly agree with companies requiring employees to take accessibility training, to take digital inclusion training, to be aware that they're, of their kind of responsibility, if you like, but also it's their pleasure. Why would you not want to help another colleague? And finally, representation matters. The disability community needs to be present, not just as testers or users, but as co-designers, advocates, and leaders in the tech space. So, woohoo! Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And obviously, you're gaining more knowledge as you go along with AbilityNet on that, Swain. Have you got any other thoughts about that?
No, I think that's an excellent summary of what's required. Absolutely, great.
Yeah.
I haven't yet read the article, but I'm going to.
Cool. Okay, and our next story then is about the government's Digital Inclusion Action Plan, which is a year old now. And so this is a report from the gov.uk website, or a kind of a press release it was, I think, saying that more than 1 million helped get connected and get online thanks to the Government Digital Inclusion Action Plan. And the bullet points at the top of the story were the first ever Government Digital Inclusion Action Plan has already helped more than 1 million people get connected in its first year. More than 22,000 devices were donated so more people can access the internet and online services, and more than 80 digital inclusion programs in communities across the UK are benefiting from the £11.9 million in government funding for this programme. So the progress report was published on the 24th of March, and DCIT, the government department, has confirmed all government commitments made in the action plan have been fully delivered or are on track for completion, which is an amazing claim. And this has been backed up by major industry partners delivering digital inclusion and skills pledges, which helped, as the bullet point says, helped over 1 million people get better broadband and mobile connections. The first year of the action plan saw government deliver the fund supporting over 80 projects and communities across England only, as well as funding provided to the devolved governments to ensure locally led digital skills and support services were available UK-wide. So the donation of 22,000 laptops, phones and tablets were through a combination of the IT Reuse for Good Charter and the government's own digital device donation pilot scheme. And 42 organisations have signed up, committed to recycling and refurbishing their unused devices away from landfill and into the hands of people who need them. But this next part is the one that really caught my eye. As part of government's commitment to ensuring everyone has the digital skills they need, DCIT will now take stewardship of the Essential Digital Skills Framework, which hasn't been talked about loads recently. So it's good to see that the government is now taking responsibility for that, and its associated national survey. This was previously managed by Lloyd's Banking Group. This is unusual, isn't it, Sweyn, for something to go from a private sector organisation into government? But this obviously means they're taking it seriously. So the press release says the EDS framework will be updated in consultation with stakeholders and informed by public engagement to ensure it reflects the digital skills needed for work and life today, including the growing importance of AI and staying safe online. So government can clearly set out what specific digital skills people need to be successful in a rapidly evolving economy and better track UK adults' digital capabilities. Well, I hope it's not just an economic driver. I hope it's social as well.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah,
What
interesting.
I'm not
We'll
seeing in
see.
this, well, two things really. One is I think I can't remember whether this was part of the action plan or not in its first year. There's no mention of the minimum digital living standard, which you might think would be appropriate for a government to look at or
Yep.
have some kind of pathway towards assisting, adopting, or whatever. And the other thing is, are those really big numbers? I don't know. 22,000 devices across England. How many people are in England? 50 million?
I didn't like to say.
Um, 80 digital
Yeah.
inclusion programs. How many
Mm.
communities are there in England?
Well,
11.9
I know I
million?
went on
Doesn't
I
sound
went on
like
a
a very big
call
number.
for this action plan last year. and there were over 600. I'm not kidding you, 600 organizations on the call interested in
Yeah,
bidding for the funding,
yeah,
and so after that, only 80 got funded.
yeah.
So yeah, you could look at it that way as
And
well.
I'd love to see the breakdown of the million people that got connected as well, and how and why, and whether the action plan really had much to do with some of them, or how many of them were directly due to actions that were taken under the action plan. But it's great that there is an action plan at last.
Yeah.
It's great that they're taking on that digital skills survey from Lloyds
Yes.
Bank, because that will
Yes.
remove the kind of reservation that some people have about it, that it's only really surveying bank
Yeah.
customers, people with
Yeah.
bank accounts. So that's good. Yeah, yeah, good. Keep going. Do more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okie doke.
And
We
also, Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, make sure you're keeping up. Make sure you're using this money. Make sure you're not wasting time insisting on pointless innovation. Get on with it.
there we go. Thank you
But
very
we're in
much
an
for
election
that.
period at the moment, so
Yes.
nobody can respond to that
No,
directly.
indeed, indeed. But we'd love to hear from anybody who's got more comment to say about that. And we want to be positive, but we also want to be
Mm.
increase people's media literacy. So if being critical about what's happening and encouraging people to look at the figures and see what the figures really mean is a part of that commitment. Okay, and this is next one is we don't normally advertise jobs, but this one really caught my eye. In fact, I think it's the first time maybe we've advertised a job. But anyway,
Think we've
this
ever
is by
we've ever done that
UNICEF.
before? No, that's
No,
right. Yeah,
this
we
is
should have
UNICEF.
a lot, shouldn't we?
We could offer that, yes.
Maybe
Um,
not.
maybe we talk about it offline. So UNICEF Digital Impact is seeking a program manager for digital inclusion, and this is a fantastic job. You've got 3 days to apply. The closing date is 16th of April. And it's based in Barcelona, which might be a lovely place to work. And the role involves bridging data, technology, advocacy, and government engagement to translate complex insights into impactful policies and technical solutions. And the successful candidate will manage multiple work streams, build cross-sector coalitions, and support the tech advocacy pillars initiatives from inception to impact. The program manager will support UNICEF's digital inclusion efforts, particularly in advocating for policy and infrastructure change to ensure children have access to safe, affordable, and resilient digital networks. And this includes developing credible measures of digital inequality, incubating technical initiatives, and promoting open standards for digital infrastructure. So, if you're interested in that job, and it looks like a fabulous one, I think they're only at the moment funding it from now until December, but
Yes.
the possibilities seem very good. So if anyone's listening and wants to apply for that, you've got until the 16th of April, and the link will be in our show notes. Okay, we are coming to the end of our time online, but we will try and cover a couple more stories. Next one is Digital Inclusion in an Unequal World, an Emancipatory Manifesto, which I spotted again on LinkedIn. I think the author, have you got the link to the page there, Swain?
This one.
Tim,
This one.
hang on, I'm not looking at the right page now. Yes, that's the one. Um,
Very
was it
busy
Tim
website.
Lewis? Yeah, it is a very busy webpage. I noticed that it seemed a bit um not exactly 2026, but I think it's got written with passion. Um, so well done to
Digital Inclusion in an Unequal World by Tim Unwin.
Tim Unwin. That's the one. Yeah. So
Yes.
I was hoping we could show the little video, quick summary of the conclusions,
Okay.
but I'm
Let's see
not
if we can
sure
find the
we can
video.
get to that. Yeah, if you keep scrolling down, it's for a quick summary of the conclusions, and keep going, keep going, keep going, and then I keep going again. There we go.
My
There's
goodness.
that's just there. You've just skipped past it
Video.
there, Swain. Yeah. If you can
Let's show this and then we
try and
can.
have a look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Oh,
Do you have to?
I think it's maybe trying to download it.
Yeah. Yes, you do. You have to download it. Sorry, it is a bit clunky.
I'm downloading it. This is digital inclusion in a nutshell,
In action.
in action.
Mhm.
Digital inclusion in an this short video provides a summary of the main conclusions of my
It's gone silent. I can't hear it anyway. Do you know whether you can, Swain?
Right, I think I need to share a separate screen because it's now in
Uh,
it's now in its own now in its own. Don't usually do it this way, do we? Usually it's
no.
embedded video that we're getting.
Mm.
And now I can't find it in downloads either. Dear me. I don't know if I think we might have to save this one for next week.
Okay, we'll skip that one.
But I think it gives us a chance to find the book and read it before we watch the video. How about that? The
Yeah,
link is in the show notes.
absolutely. And there's some really good. Just a
Probably have
blurb.
to download the video.
Yeah, the blurb says this book is for all those who want to ensure the world's poorest and most marginalized people and communities can benefit from the use of digital technologies rather than be further marginalized and enslaved through them. It diagnoses why these technologies are increasing inequalities rather than reducing them, and concludes with a clear responsibilities-based manifesto for individuals, governments, civil society, and private sector companies. So it sounds like it's it is worth a program of its own, nearly.
I've got an idea as well. Anybody applying for that job should probably read this book.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the last story then, Swain,
Okay.
if you don't mind. And this is from the Collection Project again, which is an organization that we've just been finding out about more recently. And this is a report called Misconnected. And the blurb says that digital services now shape everyday life. A successful digital society relies on wide participation, but the UK's digital investment isn't yet delivering its full value. So it's kind of connected with the previous story as well. Digital technology, banking, healthcare, communication, business, and public services are increasingly delivered through digital systems. For many people, these changes support more convenience, faster services, and access to new opportunities. But for too many people, the digital experience is difficult too often, limiting participation and value these systems can deliver. So the report explores why digital participation remains lower than it could be and what needs to change to build a digital future that works better for everyone. And it goes on to say that the conditions needed for a successful digital society are reliable and affordable access, usable design, practical support, careful sequencing of change, accountability, and assurance. So all things that we regularly talk about on the show and try and encourage people to respond to and so on. So you've got on screen now the summary of the report, and it's good to see actually chapter 2. How does the UK compare with other countries? So we often on the program talk about what's happening in other countries as well, and we do need to compare and contrast. So yeah, I think um it'd be great to have Tim Monan on the show if he's available, or somebody else. The two vignettes that I picked out of particular interest to me, one is Ken Banks, who's someone I met through Yachty some years ago, and the other one was Fernanda Skur, whose story was about on banking in Brazil during COVID. So I thought that would have been an interesting story to look at. So we'll come back to that one in the next show when we're on again. So that brings us to the end of this week's show. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We appreciate your kind of contact with us, and we do love to hear from you. And if you'd like to come on the show and talk about any digital inclusion or online communications work you're doing, we'd love to hear from you. From anywhere in the world, you're very welcome. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week, or next time we're on. Not next week, because I don't think next week. Are we on next week? I can't
Can't
remember.
remember. Okay.
Keep an eye on our
Bye.
socials. Bye bye. Take care.